how it's relevant to them. Because I think as activists, we always think that it's about pushing against, and the funny thing is that you can push against all you want, but there is something that transcends even that, and that is getting them to see.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it's about.
That's how it relates to me.
We're all human.
That's power. That's much more powerful than just the pushing against.
The us against them thing has to go. It doesn't work. It's never worked. You can't think that way.
Okay, so let's start over here with the gentleman over here. Yes, please.
I was just wondering, could you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering in regards to the film, I was under the impression that she was going to start a resource-based economy experimental city with the proceeds from the film.
Well, no, that was never discussed. Maybe in passing, someone might have commented on that. The proceeds of the film, I couldn't expect. I had no idea what's happening. I'm not making a dime off any of the releases that are happening globally. What's happening is all the money's going towards the chapters. In effect, I feel that the public awareness of this issue is more important than the technical example right now. Getting people to understand the sheer logic that I went through in Part 3, Project Earth. So, well, I think it's a great idea eventually to put it to test, which we need to do, but that would take an extravagant amount of money in the monetary system to do so. Not to mention trying to find a country that would even allow it. There are ideas put forward by the Venus Project to create like a test city that's also an educational facility, like an amusement park type thing. Lots of this stuff has been talked about for years. But for me, I think the most important point is simply getting the understanding and permeate that understanding as far and wide. So to answer your question, no, nothing like that for this film. All the proceeds are going towards the chapters so they can continue to increase awareness in their regions.
Now we're going to come over here to the other side.
Yes, I'm curious in the vein of solutions and offering solutions. Next to the monetary system and replacing it with something different, the energy system seems to be the thing that is holding us back the most. And I'm curious if you did research and if the Venus Project has done research into the free energy technologies, the hydrogen-based technologies, the things that really offer a completely new paradigm with regard to energy production and availability. So that the world is dealing with energy that's essentially free, that allows that egalitarianism to have a non-monetary substance to it. And I'm curious how much work you did with that. And sort of like Rupert doesn't talk about it. He talks about it like there's a lack that can't be undone in the energy.
Well, in this system, there certainly is. I think when he describes it, he's really relating to this system. Because monetarily, as I did at the end of this film, monetarily, there is no way you are going to see the energy infrastructure change as fast as it needs to allow for basically the sustainability that we see today to continue. As far as energy itself, Jacques Fresco has done outrageous amounts of research on energy. And the levels of energy that we hear about, all the sorts of renewables, solar and all the basic stuff, but there are all sorts of other very subtle, complex forms of energy like pressure transducers. Buildings move. They move all the time. You just don't know it. And you can build these pressure transducers within the walls. And the subtle nuance of the building moving with enough of these can create energy. I mean, any heat differential, any type of motion, any type of radiation is energy. Everything's energy. It's simply a matter of figuring out how to harness it. But back to the point of the problem with the system, there are solutions, and they have to. I mean, oil is like a superpower energy that we've been using, and it's really concentrated, and it's been very effective in its versatility as easy to move around and everything else. The new paradigm will not be as simple. It will have supercapacitors that will replace the engine of cars, meaning the battery, not oil, obviously. That technology, battery technology, we don't have to discuss. It's been around for a long time. We can go many, many miles on charges of battery. That's common knowledge, even though the public really doesn't face it. But the advanced forms of energy, the heat differentials, using the ocean, using differences in temperature simply between the topsoil and the lower attributes of almost anywhere on the planet, it's simply a matter of getting that process in place, which is a completely radical shift from what we have now, which again is not going to happen in the monetary system. There is no way you're going to see financing for something as colossal as this, and that's the real problem. There's no problem with energy if we didn't have the monetary barrier.
That's the point that I would like to see brought out more is that the solutions exist.
Yeah.
The solutions are all there. The research and development is essentially done. All that is lacking is the knowledge, the willpower to implement them.
All that's lacking is I'd say it's less lacking as it is the fact that the barrier of the establishment. What's not lacking is the problem of this profit system that we have that will not put anything in place unless people can make money off of it. And there's no way anyone's going to make money off of the total energy revision, not to mention once it's set up, if it's done correctly and efficiently and with the maximum sustainability protocol that I denote in the film under the third section, which is technically defined, by the way, it's not an opinion that I'm throwing out there, it can be implemented and it can be put together and it will work extremely efficiently. So, excuse me, by the way, I haven't had much sleep, so if I deviate a little bit, try to snap out of it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Good.
Next person, please.
Do you think that big government could play a role in the transition, and how?
The word big government, of course, is loaded, so we'll just assume that government in general. Do I think government can play a role? Obviously, you're going to have some form of governance to get anything like this done. You have to have a scientific community that's looking at the potentials, the possibilities, tracking the resources, and putting together the system that can enable this type of management process on a global scale. So yes, but I wouldn't refer to it as government as we know it today. We're not talking about Republicans and Democrats doing this, no. What's that?
What would you call it?
I wouldn't call it anything except people that are educated in the fields relevant. So you have someone that actually has been educated on what it means to set up a systems, a computational system, a program that can actually track all the resources. People that have been renewing and testing renewable energies in their labs and seeing what's possible. It's a scientific world, whether we want to believe it or not. As Jacques said, cold science, there's the stigma to science. Science is the warmest thing. It's the most loving thing ever conceived, ever presented to us. Science is, I read a review, and the guy was so cynical of the film, it was one of the first reviews, and he's like, science worship. Peter Joseph's not as bad as L. Ron Hubbard, but he's got this science worship thing. And it was so belligerent, because he didn't even listen to anything. He's like, he just hears science. Oh, they're talking about science. Guy with Scientology. So those things have to have. There has to be, Anyway, I could go on many different tangents on how you can divide up the sectors of analysis and sectors of approach. Jacques talked about this at length. This is exactly what he's thought about for so long. It's in his book. They're interdisciplinary teams is the term he uses.
Is it the book The Best Money Can't Buy?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Thanks.
Next question, please.
All right, Peter. Thank you, first of all, for the amazing series of films.
Thanks.
And wanted to address something that came up in the dinner. You gave some practical do's and don't do's. One of them is don't join the military. The end of this movie, you show the guy taking off his helmet and putting it down. We need open-minded, educated individuals in law enforcement and in the military that will disobey unlawful orders to prevent bloodshed.
Yes. Well, that's a temporal issue, though. In the long run, the military establishment serves the role of essentially a corporate assassin squad. And I'm sorry to be so harsh about it, but that is the reality of it. Most people that are in the military are very good people, but unfortunately, just like everybody, victims of culture emerge in this culture. And I feel nothing but horrible for the 1 in 4 veterans that commit suicide. Human beings are not meant to kill each other, okay? They're not meant to kill each other. Dr. James Gilligan, the expert on violence, he says the first thing they do when they bring in someone for murder is put them on suicide watch. First thing they do. Because the trauma of engaging in that type of violence for the average human being is so severe that the first thing people want to do is kill themselves. And you see the phenomenon throughout the world. And the military is a classic case in point. 1 in 4 more people, I think, have died of suicide from the war in Iraq, if I remember correctly, than they died in the actual battle in America. That tells you something very, very important about the so-called human nature, and what it means. There is a human nature. It has to do with a set of needs and necessities and interactions. Can someone be conditioned to be a mass murderer? Of course. Not have any remorse? Yes. But generally speaking, human beings are not meant to kill each other.